Hey, it's Daryl from Pacific Energy. Welcome to the channel. Today I'm going to go a little off topic and talk about electric vehicles, or EVs for short. I'm going to talk about my experience with several EVs that I've owned, the health and financial benefits, as well as the vastly improved ownership experience when compared to gas-powered vehicles. So here we go. I'm on my third EV since 2011. Now that I've owned EVs for almost a decade, I want to tell you about my experience. My first EV was a converted Chevy S-10 pickup truck. It had a range of about 40 miles and it couldn't accelerate too fast or I would risk destroying the lead-acid batteries. It was a fun test vehicle, but it was time to get a mass-produced EV with lithium-ion batteries. So I upgraded to a Nissan Leaf. Even though this was the ugliest car I've ever owned, it was the most fun to drive of any car I had owned up to that point. I never serviced it in the 3 years that I owned it, and it just kept going. While I still had the Leaf, Tesla announced it was going to make an affordable EV for the mass market. So I put down my deposit as soon as they started taking reservations, and 4.5 years later, I received my Model 3. While the driving and ownership experience on the Leaf was the best of any car I ever had, the Model 3 was far better in every category. Suffice to say, I plan on keeping this car for many years to come. I will be making a series of videos on my Model 3 experiences. Hit that red subscribe button so you don't miss out on those. Now I'm going to cover all the benefits that I have found while owning the various EVs and the reasons why I think everyone else should be driving an EV too. First, I would like to talk about the health benefit. So here's what I think is the most important thing. Driving an electric vehicle allows you to get from point A to point B without poisoning the air that we're all breathing. If you're sitting in bumper-to-bumper traffic and the car in front of you is also an EV, then your car's ventilation system isn't going to suck in that car's exhaust in and blow it in your face. Let that sink in for a moment. Driving around in vehicles that poison ourselves and the planet was a really bad idea. A new gasoline-powered vehicle's exhaust is odorless, so you don't even know you're getting poisoned. Most of us don't realize this unless we're behind an older car or a diesel bus. And it's not just the poisonous gases you want to avoid. There are these tiny particles called nanoparticles that get into your lungs and get carried into your heart and brain by your circulatory system. This can cause asthma, stroke, heart attack, headaches, cancer, and a variety of other diseases. The faster we transition to electric vehicles, the healthier you and your children will be. Keep this in mind. This benefit will also extend to every other living creature on the planet. Next, I'm going to talk about the financial benefit. Most electric vehicles for now cost more than their ICE counterparts. By the way, ICE is an acronym for Internal Combustion Engine. There are a couple of exceptions. The cost of the Tesla Model 3 sedan and Model Y SUV are very close to other vehicles in their classes. I would even argue that they cost less for what those vehicles offer, because the other vehicles don't even come close to the ownership experience, driving experience, or the savings that you get over time. Even the Nissan Leaf driving experience blows away most other ICE vehicles on the market. But I digress. Let's talk about the savings. On average, an electric vehicle's maintenance cost is $800 a year cheaper than an ICE vehicle. Then there is the fuel cost savings. Newsflash, electricity is way cheaper than gasoline. The average person in the US drives 15,000 miles a year and pays about $463 a year to charge their EV at an average cost of 13.19 cents per kilowatt hour. The average miles per gallon of an ICE car in the US is 24.7 miles per gallon at 15,000 miles would be $1,329 a year. That's a savings of $867 a year, just in fuel costs alone. If you couple your EV with a solar PV system, the savings are compounded. The average home uses 909 kilowatt hours a month. If we use the average rate of 13.19 cents per kilowatt hour, then those savings are also realized, plus the fuel cost savings go up because you no longer have to pay for the electricity to charge your car. An EV combined with solar will save the average household $3,200 a year. 16,000 in 5 years, and over 32,000 by year 10. But most of us aren't average. So I created a Google spreadsheet so that you can access that and enter your own details, so that you can get an idea of how much money you could save over time. The link to this spreadsheet is down below in the description. Now I'm going to show you how much money I'm saving by having an EV combined with solar. So these are my numbers. I drive about 25,000 miles per year. The price per gas on Maui is about $3.21 for regular on Maui. The miles per gallon of the ICE vehicle that I replaced got 17 miles per gallon. So that was an annual cost of $4,721 a year. Price per kilowatt hour for electricity is 35 cents, and this is the most popular electric vehicle, which is the Tesla Model 3. So those go about 3.85 miles on a kilowatt hour of electricity. Okay, so I just want to do a quick interjection here. Some of you may be wondering, how do I find out what the miles per kilowatt hour is of the electric vehicle that I'm considering to purchase? So here's how to find out. What you do is you find the EPA label for your EV. These are the EPA labels for two of the most popular EVs in the US, the Tesla Model 3 Standard Range and Tesla Model 3 Long Range. In the green box, you will see the rated MPG-E. You can completely ignore this rating because it's useless. A little lower, you will see how many kilowatt hours it takes for this vehicle to travel 100 miles. This is what you need. But we need to convert this to miles per 1 kilowatt hour. In this case, all you do is take the 100 miles and divide that by the 24 kilowatt hours. This will give you about 4.16 miles per kilowatt hour. I think this is a little rosy, so I used the 26 kilowatt hours from the standard range model, which is about 3.85 miles per kilowatt hour. And charging efficiency usually averages around 90% for most electric vehicles. So that's an average cost of about a little over $2,000 a year. So that's a savings of over $2,600 a year. Now, as far as just EV only, I'm saving almost $3,500 a year. And you can see that now that I'm in year 3, I've saved over $10,000. By year 5, it'll be 17. And by year 10, I will have saved almost enough money to buy a whole nother Model 3 again. That's pretty outstanding. So as far as solar combined with EV, my electric bill before my EV was about 1,800 kilowatt hours a month. And my car takes another 487 kilowatt hours a month to charge. So these are the numbers combined with that. So when I include my solar savings, which eliminates all of my fuel savings, now I'm combining a little over $14,000 a year since I've got both. Year 5, $71,000. And by year 10, I will have saved about $143,000, which is a whole lot of money. That's really enough for a down payment on another house easily. So these are substantial savings. That is a giant pile of cash, and that doesn't include any tax incentives. We really shouldn't talk about the financial benefit without talking about efficiency. ICE vehicles only convert about 20% of the energy stored in gasoline to power at the wheels. Most of the energy is wasted as heat and literally goes up in smoke. The average EV, on the other hand, converts 77% of the electrical energy to power at the wheels. The Tesla Model 3 being the most efficient at over 80% efficient. This high efficiency is a large factor for the financial benefits of EVs. Then there are the tax incentives. The U.S. federal tax credit is up to $7,500 for certain manufacturers. Nissan, GM, and Tesla have already used all their federal tax credits. Most others still have credits available. Many U.S. states have additional incentives, including California, Colorado, Connecticut, Delaware, Massachusetts, Montana, New York, Oregon, Pennsylvania, Texas, Utah, and Wisconsin. Canadians get an additional $2,500 to $5,000 incentives, and if you're lucky enough to live in the province of British Columbia or Quebec, you get an additional $8,000 rebate. Quebec will even give you a rebate of $4,000 for a used EV. Can you believe that? If you're in the market for a new vehicle, you will find that an EV is a financially sound decision, even without tax incentives. Next up is the ownership experience. Massively reduced maintenance saves you the hassle of having to bring your car in for repair and arrange for a replacement vehicle for the more major repairs. With an EV, you don't have to think about oil changes, tune-ups, spark plugs, timing belts, mufflers, catalytic converters, oil leaks, head gasket leaks, transmission fluid or filters, radiator leaks, vacuum leaks, and all the other problems that come with ICE vehicles as they develop over time. With an EV, you have washer fluid and you get new tires from time to time, and that's it. The brakes pretty much last forever because over 90% of the braking is done by the electric motors. This is called regenerative braking. Regenerative braking is a braking system for an EV that uses the electric motor to act as a generator to convert the forward motion of the vehicle back into usable energy to recharge the batteries. This makes your brake pads last for over 200,000 miles easily under normal driving conditions. And there's another hassle that an EV will save you from: gas stations. For some reason, whenever I drive my ICE pickup and I'm late for an appointment, the gas tank is empty. This never happens in my EV. Instead, every day when you get home, you plug it in. Your proverbial tank is topped off every day. Next is the driving experience. EVs are smooth, quiet, and fast as hell. My Nissan Leaf had only 107 horsepower, but it still took off faster than most cars on the road. How is that? Well, it's because the full power of an electric vehicle motor is available even at a dead stop. When you hit the accelerator pedal, all that power is available with zero delay. Even at highway speeds, an EV will overtake other vehicles before the driver of the other vehicle you just passed realizes what has happened. It's a quick and silent event. With an ICE vehicle, many things have to happen before you pass another car. You hit the gas pedal, the engine RPM increases, and then the transmission downshifts. If you have a turbo, then that has to spin up, and finally you start increasing speed. The engine noise gets really loud, which if you live in California is a very bad thing. The other driver will hear you and then promptly cut you off. Even in a new ICE sports car, this acceleration seems to take an eternity after you've become accustomed to an EV. Trying to pass a car in my old ICE truck is like, well, not smooth or quiet.
In range? Back down, sir. Come on. Should fly apart. Fire apart then.
The acceleration in an EV is exhilarating, and the Tesla Model 3 acceleration is, well, ridiculous.
Ludicrous speed! Go!
Lastly, I'm going to talk about the transition to electric vehicles. It's very obvious that if you aren't already, you will be driving an electric vehicle for transportation at some point, probably within 10 years. This is due to the innovations and risks taken by two companies, namely Nissan and Tesla, with Tesla being the primary moving force in this space. The world reached an inflection point last year, and it becomes clear that electric vehicles are here to stay. At some point before the end of 2021, batteries from Tesla will reach cost parity with ICE vehicles. This is primarily due to the rapidly falling prices of lithium-ion batteries. Since 2010, lithium-ion battery prices have fallen an average of about 20% per year. I predict that within 4 years, we'll have an electric vehicle that costs less than $25,000 and have a range of at least 200 miles. The battery advancements coming from LG, Samsung, CATL, Panasonic, and Tesla are all accelerating the world's transition to EVs. Currently, Teslas have a range of 250 miles on the mid-range to 400 miles on their high-end vehicles, and they can charge it up to 1,000 miles per hour. That's 250 miles of range in 15 minutes on Tesla's version 3 supercharger. With Tesla's fast-growing supercharger network, this makes trips in a Tesla not only possible, but enjoyable. Other vehicle manufacturers have been slower to build infrastructure, but this is changing quickly as car companies join forces and support public high-speed charging networks, such as Electrify America. It's obvious that within 10 to 15 years, ICE vehicles are no longer going to be manufactured. Maybe even sooner. It will probably be illegal to drive in most metropolitan areas much sooner than that. In fact, many districts have already announced plans to ban diesel and/or ICE vehicles altogether. Copenhagen plans on banning diesel vehicles by 2021. Paris pledged to ban diesel engines by 2025 and phase out all ICE cars by 2030. Madrid, Athens, and Mexico City are planning to ban diesel vehicles by 2025. Rome announced a plan to ban diesel cars from the city center by 2024. Norway plans on phasing out all ICE vehicles by 2025. Wow! France, Netherlands, Israel, India, and Ireland all plan on phasing out ICE vehicles by 2030. Cities such as Dublin are required to only buy electric buses after 2018. United Kingdom is planning to ban all ICE vehicles by 2040. Germany is also considering a ban on all ICE vehicles by 2040. California is also in discussions to end manufacturing and registration of all ICE vehicles by 2040. The transition from ICE vehicles to electric will likely follow a similar path as the transition from horse and buggy to the automobile. Except this time it will be faster due to the government mandates because of environmental concerns. What you need to know is this. If you buy an ICE vehicle today, it will be completely worthless in 5 years. Because by that time, it will be obvious to even the die-hard skeptics that ICE vehicles are going away. The transition is well underway and it's accelerating at an unprecedented pace. As of August 2020, there are well over a dozen EV models for sale in the US, and EVs have reached 8% of global sales. By the end of 21, I expect that number to be more than doubled. While most estimates predict EV sales to eclipse ICE sales by 2030, I think it's going to happen a lot sooner than that. I personally have made the decision to never buy another ICE vehicle again. I think after you experience owning an EV, you're going to come to the same conclusion. Subscribe to my channel so that you don't miss out on our next video about my experiences with the Tesla Model 3.